What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 51 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Conan.
And as always, we have our producer, Ray, with us. We are 10 games into the season. We finally got a little bit more to talk about. Last week, we were only coming off that quick series against the Rockies. Dodgers are playing fantastic. They're 8-2 to open up the season. They just swept the Nationals. They looked really good doing it. Really the only thing that killed us in that series was Juan Soto, but I guess if that's the only one that's doing any damage to you, then you're doing pretty well against the Nationals. It was a lot of fun to watch. Pitching was on point. Starting pitching's been fantastic. The bullpen, ton of fun to watch. Offense, getting it done. Everyone's getting it done. No Bellinger, no Betts, and this team is still playing fantastic baseball. So once we get them back.
Thank you, Zach Mckinstry.
Yeah, no kidding. The Dodgers are just like this system that pumps out a rookie every year that's going to find a way to contribute. And this year it's Zach Mckinstry, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit because I don't know how we can't. But we've got an off day today. It is Monday. We're recording a day earlier than usual. Tomorrow's game, we'll start a series against the Rockies. MLB app has Bauer lined up for that start at 7:10 p.m. against Senzatella. So that should be a pretty good game. Hopefully we can get another sweep under our belt. Because, hey, this team, we didn't really talk about it on the podcast. I think you and I have texted about it, World Series hangover, whether or not that was going to be a real thing. We saw how slow they started off in 2018, was not a hot year coming out of that World Series. So far has not been an issue here. Everybody's shown up. If you take away Kershaw's first opening day start, I mean, this team is basically taken off. Pitching's been fantastic. Everybody's doing their thing. AJ Pollock slowly starting to come around after having a really slow start to the season. Everyone else seems to be doing their thing. So we want to get into that. First thing we have to start with, of course, is that ring ceremony that happened at Dodger Stadium. I was there. It was fantastic. It was amazing. I just wish everyone else could have been there. I wish there was 55,000 of us instead of 15. It was so cool to be at, and it's still kind of surreal. Like, I still can't get over the fact that I was there and watched that, and I watched it last night.
But was it still loud? Because when I went to the A's game, they were still really loud.
Yeah, no, it was still really loud, especially for guys like Mookie. Like, Dodger fan, this is the first time Dodger fans finally got the chance to like recognize Mookie Betts as a Dodger at Dodger Stadium. So that was really cool. And then of course, when they announced like Kershaw's name, it got loud as hell in there because that was just like a huge emotional thing. I'm sure most people have watched it, but if you haven't, it was so cool what they did for the players. They had each player tell the team who their favorite player was, and they did these awesome videos. Like, just for example, Ricky Henderson was Dave Roberts' favorite player growing up. And so Ricky Henderson came on camera, gave Roberts a message, congratulated him, all this cool stuff. That was probably the coolest thing for me, was seeing that, because growing up as these guys that are baseball players, growing up watching their idols kind of do this thing, and then all of a sudden you have them talking to you, congratulating you about a World Series. Like, sometimes you never even get to meet your idol and they're congratulating you for winning a World Series. So I thought that was awesome. I don't know. It was such an emotional experience. It was so cool.
When I saw it and I saw some of these people's favorite players, I was a bit surprised at some of them. Like, I almost called him Sam Smith. Jesus. Will Smith. His favorite player was Albert Pujols.
Lining the catchers.
Like, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Wasn't expecting that from Smith. And for Rios, Ichiro, was not expecting that at all. But I think those are really great choices. But it got me thinking, like, what player would you have chosen if you had the opportunity for it?
Oh, man, that's hard. See, like, I grew up only watching the Dodgers. Like, that's just how it always was for me. And like Sean Green, I loved him. That was my favorite player growing up. So, I mean, it was either him or Matt Kemp. I know, like, it's not a big, like, oh my God, that's not a big legend, but it's like, that's who I grew up loving, watching to play baseball. So I don't know. If we were being honest and it was like right now, I'd almost feel like I'd be cheating and say like I'd have to go with Kershaw, just because could you imagine someone like Kershaw? I've always big fan of Koufax too. I've always wished that I could have watched him play. So something like that would have been really cool. But I guess my answer is not nearly as fun, because like most of these guys didn't pick like their favorite team growing up. They picked like just freaking studs on the field. But
Yeah.
I'd probably have to just go someone a little basic and go with the Dodgers. And I don't know, Matt Kemp was my guy growing up. Sean Green even bigger, so I'd be totally fine
I
with
think
like him.
Sean Green's actually a really good choice because he was actually really good. I liked him growing up as well. My choice is obvious. It's Ken Griffey Jr. So, but
I mean, it's a hell of a choice. You can't go wrong with that.
So, but even if that wasn't the option, I probably would have chose Ichiro second because people who know me know that I absolutely love Ichiro, and then Gary Sheffield would have been up there as well. But yeah, so when Rios picked Ichiro, I was like, oh my god, somebody picked Ichiro, and the fact Ichiro was funny about it and said, I played so long and didn't win, so give me your ring, I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that was
So yeah, big
I like
shout out
that
to
one a lot
Ichiro.
too. Yeah, that was cool. You mentioned Griffey. He was in there. He did it for Joe Kelly. He even came on and he's like, you guys know who it is. And he did the whole pouty face. So I thought that was cool that he had fun with that. Jimmy Rollins came in for Betts. I liked that one a lot because he's like, you've already got 2 rings. Now I need you to go fill up all those fingers while you're here. Like, yes, Jimmy Rollins.
Big facts.
Let's do it, Betts. Fill up that ring and let's do 5. Let's knock the Boston one off there and just give you 5 LA ones. One that I can't get over was Bronson Arroyo for Walker Buehler. That one was...
Yeah, that was odd.
That was...
And then he sang Wonderwall.
Wonderwall by Oasis and the whole I love you, like looking so intimately. I mean, I don't know their relationship. I had read something briefly that like they kind of rehabbed together when Buehler was doing Tommy John. Buehler grew up a big Reds fan, liked him a lot. Yeah. So it was cool. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, these guys got their idols, the guys they looked up to, talking to them. That one was a little funny to me, but hey, it is what it is. Kershaw, Will Clark, as we all know, that's who he wears his number. That's where we got number 22 from. So I'm sure that was awesome for him. I don't know if you saw the Alex Rodriguez, but if you watched it on YouTube or live on SNLA, you would have had no idea that the fans booed the entire thing because the broadcast cut that out. But Alex Rodriguez was booed throughout May's entire thing. I actually could barely hear A-Rod at the stadium. It was so loud. So I'm hoping they replayed that for May.
He probably would have been my 4th choice, honestly.
A-Rod. I mean, hey, it makes sense, especially for May. It makes sense. Like Texas Rangers, that dude was a stud. Like no matter what you say about A-Rod, the person and how he handled his legacy in MLB, the dude could play. Like there was no doubt about that. So I totally get where May's coming from with that. These are their players. At the end of the day, I thought it was cool they did it. David Ortiz was another one that made me laugh. He did it for Urias because at the end he said, hey Mookie, what's up? Why didn't you choose me? Like giving Mookie a hard time for not doing it for him. And I thought that was really funny. So it was just a good all around thing.
I'm actually surprised that Mookie chose Jimmy Rollins though.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but it seems a little surprising to me. Maybe because they're both small.
Of them, yeah, probably. I mean, hey, you gotta stand by your short guys, short people gotta stand by each other. But like the other one was like Chase Utley did it for Bellinger, so of course the stadium went nuts when he came on. The other one that I liked a lot was Kyle Seager doing it for Corey. I thought that was super cool. To not just have your family member say it, but to also have your professional baseball player brother come out and say it, and to also say he's extremely jealous of you because of what you have done in your career. I thought that was a really cool moment, but they did a ton of great ones. Not that this was a speech, but something that like really hit me in the emotional side of things was when Laura Lasorda, Tommy's daughter, presented Roberts with his ring. Obviously, Roberts is the very first manager to win a ring since Tommy Lasorda, and with Tommy's passing, that was all super emotional, I think, for everyone there. When Roberts ran out of the dugout, the first thing he did was point up to the sky as like an ode to Tommy. So that was a little tough, but it was really cool. And I'm glad that they had her out there presenting him with his ring, because I think it was kind of a full circle thing for the franchise. And of course, we cannot ignore David Price, who is auctioning off his ring to earn money for Players Alliance, which we've talked about a little bit. It's I want to say it's 150 current and past players. And basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring more attention and support to the Black community. So huge shout out to David Price for doing that, because that ring is going to get some money. So he's auctioning that off and donating it to Players Alliance, which I thought was super cool. I know a lot of people were bitching and saying, oh, don't give Price a ring, don't give Price a ring. And I'm like, you know what? If the Dodgers want to pay for the ring, who cares? And he's doing the right thing. He could have kept it. I wouldn't have cared, but I love what he's doing, that he's auctioning it off. I think that's super cool of him. But yeah,
But
I
everybody
loved
gets a
it.
ring, right? Even people who barely contribute to get a ring, as long as you were on the roster.
As long as you were on the roster. Plus,
Right.
it is the team's final say. Magic Johnson's wife got a ring. So it really comes down to the team deciding who wants a ring and how much they want to pay for it.
Lux and McKinstry got one, right? Even though they barely played?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Yeah. Ross Stripling's gonna get one, even though he was traded halfway through the season, all that kind of stuff. I was told even season ticket holder representatives, like the employees of season ticket holders, the ones who help them, they're even getting rings. So like the Dodgers went all out and just said, screw it. We won a World Series. We're buying all of our employees rings, which I think is really cool.
That's dope. Yeah.
At the end of the day, like all of these employees are important, whether or not, like maybe you might think differently about tickets, but I think of guys like DJ Severe. I think of guys who do the production and the music and how important they are to getting these players hyped up and getting them ready for the big games and stuff. And it's like every single person in that organization plays a small part to the Dodgers succeeding, whether it's the field crew, guys who work in like whatever it is. So shout out to the Dodgers for doing that. That was awesome. Cause hey, if I was working, I'd be like, hey, where's my ring? I'd want one too. So I think that's dope. They're doing that. Sujo said, I think she's getting hers sometime at the end of this month. So hopefully we will see plenty of videos of employees getting their rings as well. But on to the rest of the weekend. Dodgers did a couple other tributes. Of course, they did a wonderful tribute for Tommy Lasorda. They showed a video of him singing Frank Sinatra's My Way, had all the players telling stories about their favorite memories with Lasorda. And of course, they were freaking great stories. Pollock talked about a time where Lasorda came into the Diamondbacks like single A team clubhouse and started like hyping the team up, and was in there for like 2 hours, and Tommy never realized he was in the wrong clubhouse. He was like hyping up the away team. And Pollock was like, Lasorda started asking about a Latin player. And then all of a sudden we realized like that Latin player was on the other team. And he's like, Lasorda realized, and he just dipped out of the room and like just left and had no idea he was in the wrong clubhouse the whole time.
Wow.
So just great stories like that. Another one of Tommy putting Turner in a chokehold in the hot tub like 4 days into him being a Dodger, and basically telling him if he had to knock Turner out, he would. So leave him alone. Telling him his right fist was the hospital, his left fist was the cemetery. So just good old Tommy memories, always bringing the fire to that team. There was definitely an empty kind of hole at the stadium, not seeing him down there and the camera never panning over to him. But at the end of the day, he was there to see his team and Boys in Blue win the World Series. So he got what he wanted, and that's all he wanted, was to see them win. So I'm glad they did it for him. And then on Sunday, as we all know, they're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Fernando Mania. He made his first start on opening day in 1981. Wasn't scheduled to start. Lasorda put him in. He was fantastic. Started the season with 8 complete games. 5 of them were shutouts. It's known as one of the greatest starts to a rookie's season for any type of pitcher ever. At 20 years old, he led the league in complete games, shutouts, and strikeouts. And then, of course, Dodgers lost the first 2 games in the World Series. Fernando got the ball in Game 3, and the rest is history. Dodgers brought home that World Series. So living out that history.
Do you think his number should be retired?
I say yes, but I also I do, because I think his number means so much more to even just the LA community, not so much, no, even baseball in general. But I know the Dodgers have this rule that you have to be in the Hall of Fame to retire the number. But I feel like if there was going to be an exception for anyone, Fernando's it, because of what he did for, I mean, like I said, baseball in general, but also just the city of LA, bringing kind of everyone together. So I would like it. Of course, Fernando said he understands and he's okay with it not being retired. Of course, he's going to say that because he's a good guy. So I hope there's a mutual respect that anyone who comes to LA just knows the history, and we just don't even go down that path that anybody wears it.
I don't think anybody will.
I don't think so either.
It's not retired, but it's retired, I feel like.
Yeah, it's one of those.
If somebody
like
asks for 34, they'll be like, no.
I've
Yeah.
actually heard that I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I've actually heard that the clubhouse guy, Mitch Poole, who does all of that for the players and stuff, I heard that that's not even an option under him. Like, you're not going to get 34. Like, that's kind of how he does it. He's been with the team for decades, so I'm sure it's a mutual agreement throughout the organization that this is just a thing. It was a big conversation when Bryce Harper was potentially going to sign with the Dodgers, what he would do. So at
He ended up
the end
changing
of the
his number
day, I'm
anyway.
glad. He probably would have, and not to mention, hey, I don't care because we got Mookie because we didn't get Harper, so it all worked out anyways. But yeah, great weekend for the Dodgers organization as a whole. They did a fantastic job with their tributes, with the ring ceremony. You can find everything on YouTube. They put it all up, not everything, but for the most part, you can see all of it. But now I want to get into some of the game stuff. And the very first thing I want to talk about, which I feel like we can't ignore, is Mr. Zach Mckinstry, who's out here just freaking tearing it up. You and I talked about him quite a bit. We kept asking, can he take over for Kike? And I was full force in on, before we even saw him playing, we were, yes, he can take over for Kike. He's basically done just that at a higher level. Offensively, defensively, we've seen he's kind of still working on it. He's had some weird reads in right field, but with every game, I feel like we've seen improvements from him out there in right field. So I love watching this guy play. He plays with a ton of energy. He has so much fun. He's so good. And I guess my only question for him right now is, what the hell do you do with him when Mookie and Belly come back? Like, you've got to find time for Zach Mckinstry. You cannot put him off the bench when he's starting as hot as he is.
So that's the big question. I get it, and to a certain point, I agree. But at the same time, I don't want to say he's exactly Kike, but I feel like he's already almost 26. He just got here. There's a reason for that. He's starting off hot, but the more he's in there, the more he's likely to be quote unquote exposed. So I feel like he should definitely play and be the first pinch hit batter or come up with big situations because he's shown that he can do that. I don't know about starting yet. If he it's difficult. I've been told I'm super negative on people, so I don't want to be negative. He's been absolutely fantastic. There's no question about it. I still have some questions, but I don't know. If you want to start him, I won't have any issues with it. But the minute he starts struggling, he's got to be pulled. Is my only thing.
And I think he will. I just think for the time being, you kind of ride it until that happens. I wouldn't even mind necessarily seeing him platoon with Pollock if that's it. Once Bellinger and Betts come back, if that's the path they want to go. I think until Bellinger comes back, he's going to be in there most of the time.
So he's been fantastic. He hasn't hit the ball all that hard, but he's finding holes and getting timely hits, which is the most important thing. So he's filled in for Mookie extremely well and given the Dodgers probably more than what they asked him to do. It's still early in the seasons, but I think he's put a lot of my questions I had about him to rest. I've enjoyed watching him play, seeing him in the lineup and pitch hitting in pretty big spots. He's been extremely fun to watch. Even his little cowboy thing he does at second base, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, he has fun out there, and I think we're seeing a lot of that with the young guys as they're being allowed to show a little bit of their personalities more. And I think McKinstry just is kind of going out there and having a good time with it. He's Chris Taylor and Clayton Kershaw both spoke on him. Clayton Kershaw, they basically, I mean, it's one of the best compliments you can get is he's just a baseball player. And that's what you want. You want an athlete, but you want a baseball player. You want someone who understands the game, who knows what to do when they get up at the plate, what the situation is when runners are on, where to put the ball. Taylor's big fan of him. A lot of people, they were saying he's kind of cut from the same cloth as Taylor, and he took that as a compliment. Said that he thinks this is McKinstry and he's just getting started. So it is one of those things with time, as we always see, young players can come up, tear it up. More the league gets to see them. Like you said, they do end up getting exposed. But it also, who knows, maybe the confidence of him doing this well, he'll figure it out. And if they can ride the wave, I mean, hey, fuck it,
they
ride it.
absolutely
Because these rookies, I don't know what the Dodgers do, but they're just like a factory that pumps out rookies who contribute
you
year
had
in, year
mentioned
out.
Chris Taylor, and I want to say that he's been really good. I think he's hitting the ball hard. He's finding holes in the defense, and he's taken an absurd amount of walks. His on-base percentage is wild. So last year, Joe Davis had said that Taylor was working on his plate discipline and pitch recognition, and I think it's clearly worked. His chase rate is down. He's walking a lot. He still strikes out a lot in the zone like Muncy does, but when you do what they do, it really doesn't matter because they do everything else very well. So Chris Taylor has definitely been really good. Seager and Smith are still smoking the ball. Taylor, Muncy, and Lux are also hitting the ball hard. They're right behind Seager and Smith. Unfortunately for Lux, it hasn't equated to any results. They haven't been there. But unlike last year, at least he's hitting the ball hard, whereas last year he was making very weak contact. The strikeout rate is down so far. It's actually lower than Taylor's and right where Seager's is. But Seager and Taylor are finding open areas, whereas he's not. The one thing I noticed is so in the Rocky series, he was hitting it on the line. He got the day off against the A's. When he started the next game, he started trying to hit the ball in the air. And so he was trying to get more lift on it because he was hitting line drives right at people. Unfortunately, it wasn't working. He started popping the ball way up in the air. So when he was getting hits, his launch angle was at 8%. It's now at like 15%. So he needs to cut it down some because that's what was working for him. So I mean, he's working on trying to find some things good. Don't go back to hitting the ball on the line. You'll find areas eventually. Don't hit the ball in the air. It's not working.
It's kind of like Seager. Like Seager elevates, but I think if anything, Seager's more of a line drive guy.
So
and
Seager's launch angle is actually 9%, and Lux was at 8.
Okay.
So if Lux can get it up to 9 or 10, I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get his hits like Seager does, but obviously he's not Seager. Nobody is. So I mean, he can kind of get there eventually, but he's going to need to cut down on uppercutting the ball so much.
Yeah, no, I was working on my weekly recap for Lux, and what you said is basically right where I was at with him. He's hitting the ball really hard. It's just not necessarily going where he wants it to go right now. But I think with time, adjustment in the plate, that's all it's going to take for him.
Also, I wanted to say his last at bat against Scherzer was probably one of my favorite at bats. He fouled off a lot of pitches. He worked the count, took some pitches. Unfortunately, Zimmerman made a nice leaping catch and took away like a double. So I think
that was the one he got doubled up on, right?
Yeah, it was the one he doubled up Beatty because Zimmerman jumped up, made the catch, and then tagged first base. So it was unfortunate, but you still made a good effort. So I think you need to stay the course. I can see him kind of looking around like, what the hell do I have to do? It's frustrating. I get it. The results aren't there. You're like one for your last 20 something. But again, you've been hitting the ball hard, so kind of just stay the course, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned with Lux. Hopefully, he doesn't try to change his approach too much, because what he was doing in Colorado was working. Just keep hitting the ball hard. Eventually, it's going to drop. It's a very long season. I feel like we saw that with Smith last year, who was freaking killing the ball, and for like the first couple weeks, it just would not drop, and then all of a sudden, it started dropping, and he just
finding gaps,
his numbers like sprung up like crazy. But you mentioned Taylor, and watching him this last week have just been in shock because the dude almost lost an elbow like on Tuesday when he was hit by Montas with a 96 mile per hour sinker. He takes one day off and then he comes back and has his first multi-hit game of the season. Then he crushes a ball against the Nationals, 429 feet, 110 exit velocity. So I don't know what's going on there, but usually when you take a fastball off the elbow like that, you don't come back and hit that well. So I just hope Taylor keeps doing it because, like you said, he's been absolutely dominant.
I don't want to downplay anybody. I'm really trying not to, but Chris Taylor is exactly what Kike fans thought Kike was. That's all I'm going to say.
But he's just he gives us the consistency. He hits the ball hard. And I mean, they really had no choice but to put him in there with Betts and Bellinger out. When Belly got hurt, it was right. Him and Betts kind of both went out at the same time last week against the A's. So they really had no choice. And Roberts kind of said, all right, dude, you got one day off, go out there, play some center field. And I mean, after sliding into third in Oakland, where like it looked like Taylor's elbow was just basically hanging at that point,
It was hanging.
he came back out and tore it up. So whatever's working for him, keep doing it. Like I said, this entire lineup is just kind of scorching the ball right now. Pollock's finding it a little bit. We saw Pollock make a really good defensive play in the outfield that was called incorrectly, in my opinion. That diving play looked like it did not look like, in slow motion, did not look like it hit the ground. So nice
so what's
to
the
see
point of replays if they're not going to get it right?
Oh, did you watch the Sunday night baseball game last night? Because if you want to
Yeah,
talk
I
about
did.
replay,
that was so bad.
Yeah,
So bad.
Instant replay is one of the more questionable things in baseball, only because they don't seem to get the call right. Someone made a really good point. New York should not know the call on the field. They should know, okay, here's the video, tell us if he's out or safe. Because this whole, well, the home plate umpire said out, like, sure, maybe you don't have definitive answer that he didn't touch the plate, but you also don't have definitive answer that he did. Like, there was no evidence that he actually did touch the plate. So, you know, it's that kind of stuff. MLB needs to get it together.
I have Bum on my fantasy team. He didn't touch the plate. I need all the things I can get, but he didn't touch the plate.
Yeah, no, that was an awful call.
I don't necessarily agree that you need to not know the call in the field, because there are times where it's hard to call one way or the other, so you have to go with it. But that is clearly not touching the plate. That didn't matter there.
No, I don't know what the fix is. I don't know how you go about it and go, this is how we do it. But however they're doing it now is not working. It's slowing down the game without any actual, like, it's not doing anything. A lot of these calls, it's the same thing with Pollock. Like, that diving play, like, I get what you're saying, maybe it could have hit the grass, but in slow motion, it really did not look like it hit the grass. In live time, I could totally understand where that umpire is coming from. It's hard to tell in the moment. But we're kind of just wasting time with these replays. Not looking forward to the inevitable moment when a big one comes and screws the Dodgers in the season, but it's probably going to happen to every team at some point. But yeah, no. Well, back to the Dodgers. Another one I wanted to talk about was Corey Knebel, who has been an absolute monster on that mound. His home opener, his knuckle curve was disgusting. They had no idea what they were doing. They were swinging at pitches that were bouncing a foot in front of the plate. And he basically said after his interview, like, sometimes I just don't have that great of control over it, and it does what it does, and it breaks insane. And I mean, hey, not maybe the answer we're all looking for when it comes to control, but if it works, it works. Screw it. That's been a ton of fun to watch, and it even started making me wonder, like, is this our new closer? Is this the guy we go to? Through his first 5 outings, he's gone 4 1/3 scoreless innings. He struck out 6 and has walked 1 and is yet to give up a hit. I know you were super excited about him coming to LA. I think so far he's panned out even better than what we were imagining.
Yes. So he's gotten he's faced 14 batters. He got 13 out. The one he didn't get out was the walk in Oakland. He's been as good as advertised. I mean, he's clearly shown why I was so excited about him. His velocity's been up. The knuckle curve, like you mentioned, has been absolutely disgusting. I didn't hear the comment he made about his command, but listen, they didn't know what to do with it anyway. So if it works, it works, and it's working right now. I just want Dave Roberts to know that you have other options, and Knebel is that option.
Yeah, Knebel is very much that option. But I mean, if we look at what Jansen did yesterday, I don't know where that came from. I literally watched that game with like almost my jaw on the floor, watching him pitch yesterday, hitting 95, throwing cutters at 94 with it had like the ridiculous break. We of course started having people say, well, is Trevor Bauer have anything to do with that? Maybe being his catching partner. And you know what? Maybe Bauer's lit a fire under his ass that no one else could. Maybe Bauer's helping him with something. Who knows? But that was a ton of fun to watch yesterday. he didn't come out to California Love. I don't know if you noticed that or heard that, but he's no longer coming out to California Love. He's now coming out to two of America's Most Wanted. So I think there might be a chip for Kenley Jansen, and we saw this happen. I'm very hesitant I don't want to get too excited because I remember 2019 when he came in and pitched against the Yankees and he did this. He threw hard. He looked really, really good. And it kind of didn't last for very long, but I had a ton of fun watching him pitch yesterday. And if he even gives us that like 60-70% of the time, that bullpen is going to just get very, very dangerous very quickly. Because if you can have a punch of Corey Knebel, and on days that Knebel needs a day off and you can use Jansen and you get that Jansen, this bullpen's going to be in a very, very good shape.
You see, that was my main thing. I really try not to be negative, but what yesterday told me was it just showed a glaring that he has these big inconsistencies. He has like a good outing against Colorado, and then has the really bad outing in Oakland, then has a good outing against the Nationals. So it feels like he's been on this up and down the last 2 or 3 years where he's got 2 good outings, then 2 bad outings, and 1 good outing, then a few bad outings. So it's the inconsistency for me. But yes, yesterday was really, really good. 94 with a nasty movement on the cutter. So maybe Bauer is helping him, but also maybe he's seeing Knebel completely dominate, and it's lighting a fire under his ass. Like, okay, if I don't get it together, this spot will no longer be mine. So, I mean, good, because competition is good. So, I mean, yeah, I like it, but I need to see more of it. If he can do this consistently, then I think we're going to be off to. I mean, the bullpen's been a little bit slow, but I think Gonzalez looked better. Trinan and Jimmy Nelson got in a little bit of trouble, but they got out of it with really, really good timely pitches. So once this bullpen gets it together, they're 8-2 now. Yeah, good luck with the rest of the league. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. With Jansen, it's always a consistency thing. We've seen it a couple times where he'll come into games, hit 94, and then the next game just not even get close to it. So it could be, you know what, though? There's also how much of me is wondering that we've seen a lot of players comment on not having fans. And it made me wonder if Jansen coming in, seeing fans for the first time in LA, as well as seeing Knebel succeed in the home opener, 1-0 win, a close one, something that Jansen typically lives for, let alone the day of a ring ceremony, probably saw something, and I would assume missed some of that, saw the excitement from the crowd when Knebel lit it up, struck out too, because Jansen literally went and basically did the same thing Knebel did the next day. I mean, it took Knebel 10 pitches to get out of that inning on Friday. I think it took Jansen like 11 or 12 yesterday to get out of his outing, maybe even less than that. So
Knebel was also good yesterday too, though.
Yeah, he was. And I like that a lot. I like that they can kind of mix and choose you, because sometimes you don't want your best pitcher coming out in the 9th. Like if you're facing Soto, Trey Turner, whoever else at the top of their lineup in the 8th, like that's probably where I want my best pitcher coming in. I'm not going, okay, well, let me put my setup guy in the 8th, and then we'll have Jansen or whoever the closer is face the bottom half. So I really love that they have the 2 strong pieces in Knebel and hopefully a consistent Kenley Jansen from what we saw yesterday, because that's when it gets really dangerous. You made a good point about Nelson, Trinan being able to work out of jams that they kind of got themselves into. It was great to see Nelson pitch with so much energy when he got that big strikeout. I think, it was a strikeout. Yeah. Big inning from him. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm hoping will kind of get this bullpen going in the right direction, because a little bit of a slow start for some of them, but I think we've all seen what these guys are capable of. I mean, we saw Jimmy Nelson in spring. We saw moments from Price where he stepped up. Gonzalez, we saw what he did last year. So I think if kind of all the pieces just keep going, and not to mention we're getting Gratterall back at some point.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. It's sounding a little bit better. We have an update on that a little later in this, but Yeah, I enjoyed watching Jansen yesterday.
Yeah.
He even looked pissed off after they got the win. So I'm hoping that's like the old self. Like, I'm not going to be happy with this outing because, like, be happy with yourself, but don't be satisfied. Keep going, keep chasing it, keep building off of it. Not just a, hey, I did it this one outing, I'm good, I'm back. Find a way to build off of that and just keep getting better.
Also, I think you made a good point, and I wholeheartedly agree, because I think in that eighth inning, it was the better part of those Nationals lineup that they got through, and then Jansen faced like the bottom of the order.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know exactly
So
where they were, but it wasn't, the heart.
that would make sense. So like if it's Turner, Soto, Zimmerman, Zimmerman, right? Zimmerman. Then I probably want Knebel out there, and then if that's the eighth inning or whatever, then I want him out there, and then the ninth inning, Jansen can have I'm forgetting everybody's name. The bottom of the 5, 6, and 7 who aren't necessarily all that great to begin with. So I think that will maybe help boost his confidence a little bit. Maybe it'll show him, okay, I can get batters out. But for right now, I don't want Jansen facing the heart of the order. So I would. So if the good part of the order is coming up in the eighth inning, I prefer other people, and then Jansen can have the ninth and get the bottom of the order. I think that works out just fine. And I agree with your point that it probably should be that way.
Yeah, I think like saves are important to the players, the closers themselves, but at the end of the day, like
it's the money, yeah.
Yeah, and so I totally get that. I understand where they're coming from, but at the end of the day, like just get that W in the win column. That's the most important thing. So whatever it takes, whatever pitcher it means coming in and throwing, that's what I want. I just want best matchups. But on the pitching side of things, the starters, I haven't looked at MLB numbers yet, just because we're so early into the season. It's never want to like look at stats and be like, oh, we're great. I mean, we are. I'm not going to take that away from this team at all. But this starting pitching has been pretty damn good. For the most part, we've seen a little hiccups here and there. Like we saw Kershaw struggle a bit in Colorado. We saw Bauer have some innings where at the end he starts to give up a few runs towards the end of his outings. But in their last 8 games, Dodgers starting pitching has a 1.61 ERA, and no pitcher has allowed more than 3 runs during that stretch. And the pitchers are going 6 1/3, 6 2/3, almost 7 innings, which this early out of the gate, I don't know if I was expecting that, but they've been great. I mean, look at what Kershaw did. We saw a pitcher's duel yesterday between 2 future Hall of Famers, between Scherzer and Kershaw. And that was fun. Kershaw pitched with a ton of energy. He was pumped when he got a big strikeout. I think it was the 6th inning at that point. So his last inning. And we've seen Bauer pitch with that kind of energy. We've seen, I mean, May just always pitches with an energy. Urias has been great. The starting rotation is just, it's so unfair. And we don't even have Tony Gonsolin anywhere near it. We don't like, this isn't even, I mean, I'm not saying Gonsolin is going to start over any of those guys, but like, this isn't even all of our best start, like all of our starting pitching. Like there's still other options to come in and help out and take up spot starts. And so I can't get over what starting pitching has done these last couple of days. I want to see better lineups once we go play the Padres. I think it's going to be more of a test this weekend. But so far it's been freaking fantastic.
Yes. So I excuse me, I was worried about Kershaw. I can't lie, but he's had 2 back-to-back really, really good starts. Yesterday his fastball was up a tick, which was nice to see, but more importantly, he was hitting corners and he was hitting his spots and he was throwing his slider a lot more, which I think is important because it's his best pitch. I mean, when he was in his prime, we always talk about the fastball and the curveball, but the slider has really turned into his bread and butter pitch. Bauer has gotten he's gotten the strikeouts, or excuse me, Buehler hasn't gotten the strikeouts we're used to, but he's gotten outs. Urias gave up 3 runs last outing, but he still looked really good. Prior to that, the first inning was a bit of a roller coaster, but I think he only gave up 1 run in that inning. So May only had 1 start, but as we talked about in the last podcast, he was really impressive in that one, and Bauer has dominated the strikeouts. Runs out of gas a little bit towards the end, but I think in Oakland, I don't even think he ran out of gas. It was a bit of unluck, but he got a strikeout before the reliever came in, and he threw a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. So he was still clearly pumped up for that. That was nice to see. So the thing I've noticed about the Dodgers the Dodgers pitching staff is that the Dodgers coaches have this great ability to see what pitches are working and stick with that game plan while still mixing in pitches. So like Urias utilizing his changeup, but still mixing in his slurve and everything else. Bauer utilizing his cutter, but still mixing in the fastball and slider occasionally. We haven't even seen him use the curve like we have during spring training. So just imagine when he starts using that pitch more again. May was utilizing his cutter against the A's, but he was still throwing the high forcing fastball and his sinker. Now, when he starts mixing in his changeup a little bit more, he could be even more unhittable. Buehler's pretty much thrown everything, but he's always a fastball first guy. And when you throw it as hard as he does and get the spin that he does, he can live and rely on it because batters can't hit it anyway. Like when you think of fastballs, you think, okay, that's probably the pitch hitters will have most success against, like the highest average against that. But against Buehler, it's his lowest. They can't really touch his fastball. And we've seen how it is in the playoffs. They can't really touch it. So it's been amazing to watch the Dodgers coaching staff call pitches because I don't think the catchers are calling it at all. They always look over to the dugout and then give the signs. So the Dodgers coaching staff is doing a great job, and the pitchers are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I don't know if you told me something, but someone said that they had thought Smith was no longer doing the pitch calling, and it allowed him to focus more on just receiving the ball. And you're actually seeing, as much as we have gotten on Smith about his framing, he actually looks a lot better this year. We've seen him frame a couple ones nice. Obviously, it's always going to be work for guys to do that stuff. But man, if Will Smith can get his framing up and give us a little bit better defense behind there, I don't care who's calling the pitches because they're pitching well with him back there right now. It's going to be very dangerous for everybody if Will Smith
Barnes
is also very good
pitches.
Defensively. Yeah,
so if Barnes isn't calling pitches, then Smith should just be in there then.
Yeah, and just
except for Kershaw, just because Kershaw just feels more comfortable with Barnes, so that's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, it's working for everyone. Like you said, Dustin May, he's only had one start. As of now, he's scheduled to start on Wednesday against the Rockies, so that should be, I think, a pretty good one too for him. Bauer, like you said, he's racking up those strikeouts. He has 20 through his first two starts. Buehler looked really good, especially coming off a rough kind of spring training. It was nice to see him, at least the last spring training outing, we saw he was not very good. So it was nice to see him come out and dominate. Urias, again, just repeating what you said, great to see him go out there, give up a couple runs, but still be dominant. Sticking on the starting pitcher side of things, Trevor Bauer is having his baseballs, I'll say that way. Trevor Bauer is having his baseballs inspected. According to Ken Rosenthal in an article, he states that multiple balls used in Bauer's start on Wednesday against Oakland were collected to be tested for a foreign substance. The balls had visible markings and were sticky, so they were sent to the league offices. MLB says they will use spin rate data from years past to compare with their numbers now to see if there's any major jump in spin rate. When the news first broke last week, Bauer's response was, "Lol, always fun reading desperate and misleading clickbait headlines from national gossip bloggers to translate fake journalists speak for y'all. It's unclear whether equals I can't be bothered to look into this because it doesn't fit my narrative. Wonder where the articles about balls from every other pitcher being taken out of play in literally every game this season are. Also, lol to MLB, who already has sources talking to gossip bloggers about a supposedly confidential process a week into the season. Thumbs up, y'all keep killing it." Roberts has already said he hopes that they're not singling out Bauer. I kind of feel like we all saw this coming. I kind of feel like MLB, if you didn't want to be so obvious about it, you probably should have just grabbed someone else first and maybe done Bauer like second or third. Because I feel like going after him right away kind of just screams exactly what they were trying to do with all of this. It still comes down to what can MLB actually do? Can you actually prove Trevor Bauer put it on? Or could the catcher have wiped some off his shin guard and said, "Here, Bauer, here's a ball with some pine tar on it"? I really don't know what they're going to do. According to Bill Shaken of the LA Times, MLBPA would challenge any discipline not covered under current rules, and whatever leaks would be could risk undermining efforts to work cooperatively towards any rule changes. So I think both you and I kind of feel the same way about this. It's dumb. It feels like posturing. It feels like they're just pretending to care about this so that way they can say, hey, we tried. Every player uses it. Some executives have come out and said that they believe pine tar is more effective than steroids. Some believe it gives the breaking ball 20 to 30% more break, which I do understand. I can see a little bit of both sides about it, but if you've got 90% of pitchers doing it, going after one isn't going to be the way to fix it. If anything, it's just going to rile up the sport even more and piss off more people. Baseball's had such a hard time getting people to watch, and I feel like it's actually been a little bit better, especially the way the season started off. There's been some great Sunday night baseball games, and now you've got like this whole, okay, well, we're going to start busting pitchers for something that's been going on for literally a century in the sport. So I don't know. I'm very interested to see what happens. I don't know how you suspend him. I don't know what happens moving forward.
So like it's easy to say that Bauer should be quiet, and yes, he should, but we all know Bauer by now. He's not going to be quiet. It's just not an option. I feel like this is just all incredibly dumb, especially like you mentioned. We all know majority of major league starters use this stuff, and I think we talked about it on the pod either last week or the week before. But hitters prefer pitchers to use the stuff because they have more grip and more control of where their pitches are going. So it's not slipping, or they're not being hit accidentally with 98-mile-an-hour fastballs coming towards their head. The pitchers have more control over the ball. So hitters prefer it that way. I do understand that it gives them more spin and more break on pitches. But again, I think hitters will take that as long as they're not being hit with the baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, I mean, not to mention these hitters are incredibly talented nowadays. Like they're hitting 101 mile per hour fastballs. They're hitting this stuff. So I can only imagine if you took away sticky stuff, what those pitches would do, especially if the seams are still very deep into the ball and there's not that much grip. With the new CBA coming up, I don't know if they try to work something out that's like, we will make a legalized substance. That's the only thing you're allowed to use. Like maybe that's the route they need to go, and then just test for anything else. I just feel like you're asking for a lot of trouble on this because you can't just do it to Bauer. You have to do it to everybody. Garrett Cole was literally named in an article that Angels employee had made a special like substance for him to use. Same, I think it was Scherzer that was in there as well. Verlander. So it's like you can't read articles like that, see stuff like that, and go, I'm just gonna go after Bauer because Bauer is loud about it. Like I get your point, but if he is loud about it, which is not ideal because that will get MLB after him more. But at the same time, that can't be the only reason that they choose to go after Bauer, because you can't just go after players because they're loud about an issue in the game. So I don't know. We don't know where this is going. We will keep you guys updated because it does affect the Dodgers if anything happens to Bauer. I have a feeling nothing will come out of this. They'll probably come back and say, oh, we didn't find anything. I would not be surprised if they have a private
How long does it really
Bauer.
take? Like you took the balls on Wednesday, it's Monday. How long does this really take?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. The article from Ken Rosenthal didn't seem to provide much more info than that. They even seem like they're kind of out of the loop. So it kind of just, everything I kept reading was like sources. So I don't even know how much anybody really knows what's going on. Apparently balls get taken every day, sent to the commissioner's office, yet we're only hearing about Bauer's, which again, kind of makes sense. He's probably the most polarizing player in baseball when it comes to this type of stuff. So really all we can do is sit around and wait. One executive said they should treat it like steroids, pop a guy for 20, 30 games, and you'll see it stop happening a lot more. I don't think that's going to happen at all, because you will see, I think it will become a very big issue if you start taking guys out of the game for 20, 30 games, especially
I think that executive is stupid.
Yeah, I think that's crossing a line very majorly, especially when literally every position player also has pine tar on their gloves so they can grip and throw the ball. Like, let's be realistic here.
On their bat as well.
Yeah, everybody in baseball uses it. I'm not sure there's 100% way you can actually prove Bauer put it on it. So that's why I think this whole thing's kind of just like we're going to pretend to care so we can tell people we tried, but nothing will actually come out of it. So we'll have to wait and see. No reason to really sit around and keep talking about it until we have more info. So some quick Dodger news. Mookie Betts has not played in a game since last Tuesday in Oakland due to lower back stiffness. Originally, Robert said he'd likely be back Friday. We have yet to see him play. Unfortunately, was not in there for the home opener or any of the opening games where they wore their gold championship jerseys. I don't think they plan on, as far as I know, they were only wearing those over the weekend. So I'm really bummed Mookie did not have the chance to play in those. Hopefully they wear him again at some point because he's a big reason those jerseys even exist. But they're saying they hope he'll be ready for tomorrow's game. They don't want to put him on the IL. It's been about a week now. He did some hitting on Friday. Robert said he's feeling a little bit better. Really want to get him back in there sooner rather than later. Team's been okay without him, but again, at the end of the day, like, he's Mookie freaking Betts. Get him back in that lineup. Once he's healthy, do not push it. It is a 162 game season, and when the team's playing as well as they are without him, it is not worse. It is not worth putting any extra risk on Mookie Betts. We are not the Padres. We are not going to put our players in there and hurt them more than they are already hurt. So that leads us into the other one.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say
no, go ahead.
Yes, he should 100% make sure he's like 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Because there are way more important games that the Dodgers so desperately need him healthy for. Plus, McKinstry obviously is doing just fine. So take your time, get 100% healthy. And when you're right, get back in there because we're going to need you for the long haul.
Yeah, there's zero reason to push it. It would be great to see him out there. He's a ton of fun to watch. I love watching every at bat, every time he's on the base, anytime a ball is hit towards him. But no offense to Mookie Betts, when you don't necessarily need him in this exact moment, we will 100% need him. But when he's not 100% needed right now, there's no reason to push it until he is 100% because he is very important to this team. And if they want a chance at repeating, they will need him in there when it matters most in October. As well as Cody Bellinger, who on Monday came out of that game against the A's after having his ankle and calf stepped on by the pitcher trying to beat a ball out to first. I don't know if you heard this. I also don't know how much truth there is to this, so I don't want to start putting blame on the pitcher. But I heard that this pitcher actually might have a thing for doing this, and that slow motion in the video, some people had claimed you could see him kind of moving his foot a little bit more towards Bellinger. I really hope that's not the case, because if it is, that's some Bush League shit to do that, especially to someone's ankle. Like, his Achilles could have gone out on him with those metal cleats. That was a very stressful play to see him walk away like that. They say there's no structural damage. Was put on the IL, the home opener on Friday with a left calf contusion. His stint is retroactive to April 6th. As of now, we don't know when he's expected to be back. But like I said, no structural damage done to his calf, just residual soreness. He did some light agility drills with the trainers on Sunday, so he was back out there. Don't know when he's getting back. Hopefully sooner rather than later. We're waiting to see how his swing would pan out after that shoulder surgery. So hopefully he's still able to kind of work on that and get things going, because we all know how important Bellinger is to this team. With that said, him going on the IL, they had to make a corresponding move. And with that, they recalled Luke Raley from the alternate training site. So he actually made his major league debut on Friday. When he came into the game in the 8th inning to play some right field. He ended up getting his first major league at bat, grounded out to shortstop, but still big congratulations to Luke Raley making his MLB debut and getting a chance to be out there. I think it's obvious to everyone he's the first one that he's going down as soon as Bellinger comes back up, but hopefully he gets the opportunity, whether it's pinch hit. I don't know how much we'd actually see him play, but hopefully he gets a chance to that first big league hit. That is always exciting to see. So Bellinger, Betts both out, hopefully back very soon, because once this team is at full strength, it's really going to be over for the rest of this league. So I can't wait for that, because they're already tearing it up in every category, and they don't even have arguably, I don't want to say two best, because I put Seager above Bellinger, but they're probably arguably they're one of their best players, and then a top 3 or 4 player on the team in Bellinger. So Only going to get worse for opposing teams, and I cannot wait. The Dodgers also claimed Ashton Goudeau off waivers from the San Francisco Giants. I think that was on Saturday. I'm going to assume that's how you say his name. Goudeau. Did you find anything about him? We're not going to go too deep into it, but I'm curious
I'll try to
about him.
Yeah, so he's only pitched in 8 innings in the major leagues, and it was last year with Colorado. Didn't go well as you'd expect, but he has a 4-seam fastball, a changeup, and a curveball. He mostly throws his 4-seam about 55% of the time. He uses the changeup and curve about the same, about 20%. The changeup has a slightly better drop in movement rate than the major league average, and it's been his best pitch. It's his out pitch. So maybe the Dodgers can up the changeup usage and see that he can be serviceable with the 95-mile-an-hour fastball up in the zone and then a changeup. So, that's about it with him.
Cool. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Wouldn't expect to see him anytime soon, but we know the Dodgers, they love to pick up their guys and have them, and sometimes they do miracle work with them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this guy at the big league level at some point. Who knows when?
This year, just in case something happens.
Yeah. I guess that is true with our bullpen arms, not 100% knowing what's going on. It might be nice to just have someone extra there just in case. Last on the Dodger news, Stan Kasten is hoping that Dodger Stadium will be at full capacity by June 15th at the absolute latest. So about 2 more months, he's hoping we're rocking with 55,000 fans at Dodger Stadium. I hope that's the case, as long as it can be done safely. We don't need to make this pandemic draw out any longer than it already has been. So, but I cannot wait for full capacity. That is when I am looking forward to going back to the stadium again, fully vaccinated, but I cannot wait to be back with a full stadium. And then very quickly on our injury updates, Gratterall threw a 15-pitch simulated inning on Saturday through his fastball and slider. Robert said everything looked good and they're hoping to have him back soon, but he's hesitant to put an exact date on it. They did say the next step would be to have him pitch 2 out of 3 days, which he is expected to do at the alternate site sometime this week. And Bill Plunkett, I believe it was, also said that he could be ready for major league action not too long after that if all goes according to plan. So kind of same feeling for Gratterall, no reason to push it until he's back. So we'll see. I do not expect him to actually be back right after he finishes his 2 out of 3 days this week. Maybe in a week or two, we'll see him back.
Probably more like May, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably, there's just, especially such a young arm and a guy who had a little bit of a questionable health history with his shoulder. You don't want to push that.
Yeah.
Another shoulder issue, unfortunately, Tony Gonsolin is still a ways away from returning to the field anytime soon, according to Roberts. He has that shoulder inflammation in his throwing arm and he has yet to start his throwing program, so that's really a bummer. I enjoy watching him pitch, and young guy, always, well, kind of young, I guess, not compared to the other guys, but you still want to see him out there doing his thing. He looked pretty good during spring, and he's a great guy to come out of the bullpen, especially if you need 2-3 innings. So hopefully we have him back soon. Joe Kelly, I did not hear any type of update at all about him over this last week. So unless I completely missed it, which I looked up his name and all I found was a bunch of pouty faces of him with his ring. So I did not find any type of update on him and whether or not where he may be. So hopefully he's progressing as well. But I mean,
it's been quiet with Kelly for a long time now.
Yeah, we've got the pieces to hold it over. So again, no reason to really rush anyone back. But
yes, but at the same time, I would like people to come back because Alexander would be gone, and that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Even though he's done all right, I still don't want to watch.
He's done all right, but I think where everyone watches with hesitancy, like when's that going to come where he's not all right anymore? So we'll see what happens there. But other than that, team's looking pretty good. We are now going to move on to our MLB news from our producer, Ray, who will lay that out for you guys.
So updates from the past week, Fernando Tatis Jr., he was placed on a 10-day IL after the MRI revealed a slight labral tear, which Padres team doctors deemed no need for surgery and uneventful. And they also said that he will not risk long-term damage by playing again. So they said the aim for him was to come back in 10 days, and that would be this Friday in the opener of the series against the Dodgers. Another shortstop.
He has a tear, and they said
he has a labral tear. And they call that uneventful.
Oh,
and So this is also the same team doctors who said Clevenger. They want to ruin him.
Oh, yeah, brother. Yeah, somebody get Tatis out of there, please.
Another shortstop hurt. Anderson on the 10-day IL with a hamstring strain. Timeline on that, not necessarily known, hopefully not too long. And George Springer, new Blue Jay, yet to make his 2021 and Blue Jay debut. He had a oblique strain coming out of spring training, and now he has a quad strain as he was running bases. Some good news, Brent Honeywell Jr. made his MLB debut yesterday against the Yankees for the Tampa Bay Rays. He was the MVP of the Futures game at the 2017 All-Star Weekend, and 4 elbow surgeries, including Tommy John, and 3.5 years later, we finally see a right-handed screwball in the MLB, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Tim LeCastro, former Dodger, also known as Tim LeFastro, set the MLB record for most consecutive stolen bases to begin a career with 28. The National Baseball Hall of Fame requested his spikes, so those will be going to Cooperstown. And he beat out the previous record holder, who was Tim Raines, who had 27 to begin his career. And the first no-hitter of the season has happened. Joe Musgrove throwing the first no-hitter of 2021 and the first no-hitter in Padres history last Friday against the Rangers. And also of note, the catcher Victor Caratini, he is the first catcher to catch consecutive no-hitters with different teams. He caught Alec Mills's no-hitter last year with the Cubs and was traded to the Cubs, traded to the Padres before this season, along with Yu Darvish. So that is an interesting note from that no-hitter.
So the only team without no-hitters, the Indians?
No, the Indians now have the longest drought of no-hitters. Okay. Yeah, Padres are the last team to not have thrown a no-hitter.
Okay.
You know what I will say was really cool about the Musgrove no-hitter is he's obviously from San Diego, but his family owns a little gourmet coffee shop in San Diego. And as soon as he threw that no-hitter, a bunch of Padre fans went to celebrate and went and bought a ton of coffee from his parents' little coffee shop in San Diego. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, sorry. No, I just need to throw that in there because.
No, yes, that's cool.
I thought it was interesting. I like the. We've had a lot of really good baseball is romantic stories these last couple days, and it's made me very happy. I don't know if you saw the Phillies fan who got that ball and then gave it to the Braves fan, and then the next day Freddie Freeman came out and found the Phillies fan, and Bryce Harper and Freeman signed a ball for him. And then there was a family that I think came in, I want to say from Guatemala, to watch Ronald Acuna, and he hit a home run and the little kid freaked out. And then the next day Acuna met the little kid. So I love what baseball's doing right now. It just makes me so happy. That's the kind of stuff we need to grow the sport. So I'm glad the players are doing their part and going all in for these fans. But yeah, let's hope the Padres don't ruin Tatis. I hope we do not see him this weekend because that would not be good. But other than that, let's keep winning. Let's keep doing our thing. I had nothing else. Did anyone else have anything else to touch on, or were we good to go? Cool. Well, in that case, make sure you guys check us out on social. Check out dodgeryard.com. We've got weekly recaps coming out every week on these players. A couple other things going on. You can check out Baseball Neighborhood, the podcast. It's about podcasts with all the other 30 different teams, Dodger fan, as well as fans from all the other 30 different teams. LA Dodger Dog Show. We've now got some new vlogs up on the YouTube channel. He did a video for the home opener ring ceremony, as well as Tommy Lasorda's tribute. He'll be doing those as he goes to games. You can find us on social, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook at Dodger Yard. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Randy_Radcliffe.
And you can go to allmylinks.com/Konu, KONU, and find my social medias on there.
You can follow me on Twitter at Stingray417.
And as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in, listening. Whether you have a good rest of your morning, night, afternoon, weekend, whenever you listen, go Dodgers. I want to come back next week and hopefully talk about the team the same way we did this week. So should be a very fun series against the Padres this weekend, and I am looking forward to it. But other than that, we will catch you later. So have a great day, guys. Catch you all later. See ya.
Bye, guys.